Carpenter. I own Legendary Lion Web Design. We're a brand design, web design, and SEO optimization specialist agency. And this is an application that we were hired to develop on behalf of a client called Your Perfect Team. The problem was this particular client is a branding specialist specifically for family entertainment centers. So they brand clients like Incredible Mo's, Lucky Jack's, the entire experience. And they came to us and said, we've got this sort of imperfect system where when one of these family entertainment centers or restaurant organizations is trying to hire, they're looking to speed up the hiring process. And they're looking to potentially place people based on personality type. Everybody in this room is probably pretty familiar with Myers-Briggs. So we developed a web application that allows for them to do this. Essentially, it's broken into two parts. There's part A and part B. The first part is a normal application. So it's SSL encrypted. The way that it's set up, any client can purchase this service as a subscription service. So a family entertainment center might, when they're opening a new site, hire this, pay for this service to hire staff. And the first part is that normal employee application that you would take. But the second part is where all the magic happens. The second part is a customizable by industry or client questionnaire, 38 questions, which determine what personality type the person has that's filling it out. And then we customize all of the emails, which are subsequently sent out to the owner and to anyone who's in hiring that describes, okay, this is the personality type, these are the best suited positions for that person. It describes their personality, their main attributes, their perceived potential weaknesses. So I want to run you through an example of that real quick here. So this is the sandbox. This sits on a JavaScript and PHP backbone. The JavaScript part does the personality calculations. So as you go through, this is a sandbox site. So normally the clients would not be able to see the data as they went. But as I go through and click each response, it will run through a JavaScript calculator. And depending on the response, which is either the extroversion or antithesis, introversion, and so on through, determine what quality has more points. Whatever has more points equates to the personality type, which then triggers a PHP email, which gets sent to the hiring manager and the owner to tell them, here's the person who applied, here's their personality type, here's who they potentially would best fit in. So the point of the application is to speed up the hiring process by giving them a tool that they can use with a series of other tools to help them understand who would best fit where. So we're working on upgrading the experience. Let's see if I can get this rolling again. We're working on upgrading the experience. The email looks something like this, and it's a little difficult to show you here, but essentially it's a HTML email which shows the applicant's information. It'll then show their title and a long description of what that title means, and then a bunch of information on their strengths and weaknesses. So we're working on upgrading this application right now. It's strictly in prototype mode. There's really no database backend or anything like that built in yet. And by really, I mean there's none. It sits on this, so it delivers the email. So essentially, the people that are trying to prototype, they use the email to keep track of applications and things like that. But we want to build in a database backend, so probably a PHP MySQL infrastructure. It will sit in front of a paywall, so clients will pay a subscription. They then are granted access to a client panel, which shows a dashboard of how many applications they've had within the past month. They can do reporting on that for if a position just opened up. Okay, who applied that had a personality that fit that. We also want to do an administrator login so that for the client that I'm building this for, they can go in and update the client dashboard with their logo, customize the experience with the personality sandbox that you saw, with that company's brand, colors, and everything like that. So it's like a seamless application experience. It all happens online, and that's the concept. So again, my name is Aaron Carpenter, Legendary Lion. We help you get your lion's share of the way.
Do you have, or your client have the intention of licensing this to or even attempting to scale this to something like Monster or Indeed, where they take in so many applications, because it seems like any person who is taking applications, it's just more information about the applicant.
Right, so that's the brilliant part about it, right? And I can't take credit for the idea. We were hired to build the prototype and start building the infrastructure. But yeah, essentially, it could be used in any industry, really. We haven't looked at licensing it to anyone else that I'm aware of. I believe he wants to keep it proprietary. But we are looking at vastly improving the customizable experience so that when someone buys into a subscription, it's them up there. Like, it's their company, that's who you're applying for. And as you said, they use it as a tool, amongst other tools, to speed up the hiring process, make sure they're putting the right people in the right places. Must have done a good job presenting.
So maybe I missed this, but so the revenue model is
Subscription based.
and is that by number of employees or by number of applications?
Right,
or-
so right now this is, again, strictly in prototype mode, so it's not ready to go to production.
Sure.
But the idea, or the discussion at least, is that my client is trying to decide between doing like a per application small fee, right, or just subscription based. Like, as long as you have a subscription, you can crank as many users through it as you want, but the second that you turn off that subscription, it's disabled. So we would essentially have an archiving system in the database where all data would be stored, but a Boolean would toggle that would not allow them to log in because they're not currently a paying customer.
Go ahead.
Who's the competition here?
Right. So pretty much anything that's a hiring tool, right? And there are a lot out there. However, I welcome anyone's discovery as to whether or not there's anything like this out here. I wasn't able to find anything like that. I mean, sure, Myers-Briggs and that, but we're customizing the experience for the client. So you find a particular restaurant, you examine the personality models. It's just one off from the management side to go, okay, these people would fit best here and here's why with those descriptions. And then the company then gets that information in turn. And it's completely customizable. In theory, there's always an admin on my client's side, not the family entertainment center or restaurant, that customizes this experience, like a hiring expert, so that they don't have to pay someone to do that and sit there and know that. They just do it one off, and then they use that information as a tool. But yeah, that's currently where that discussion sits right now.
So you're like eHarmony versus Match.com. More in-depth questions.
Exactly.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, this may be a question more for the owner than for you, but you can take a traditional Myers-Briggs score and deliver that to somebody and let them make a decision based on that information. Sounds like you're going beyond that. They're going beyond that,
Right.
and they're saying that they're taking that information and making a leap to something much more than that. So what's it based on? I mean, there's very little evidence actually that Myers-Briggs
Exactly.
does connect to anything.
And funny that you mentioned that. I just read a post on Facebook. I think maybe it was, I don't remember where it was from, but it was definitely a credible source. But they were saying that, yeah, there's more evidence pointing to the fact that Myers-Briggs doesn't work. I'm not really interested in whether or not Myers-Briggs works. I know that the questions that an interviewer would ask are essential to placing a person in a job. And these questions are designed to place people into whether or not they like dealing with people more or they don't. Like those sorts of questions, as it applies to introverts and extroverts in the Myers-Briggs theory. There's literally no Myers-Briggs that's working here other than the math. So the math, calculating a person into a specific cubbyhole based on their answers, then allows us to say, okay, based on all those answers, these are the positions that would best fit for you. That makes sense.
Are you working with development partners to validate that this actually works?
Again, it's in prototype mode, so it's kind of up to the client. They're paying us to build the system in a way that it would work. It is being field tested right now with several different clients. I think a total of 6 or 7.
Okay.
So we're getting that information as we go. It's more of a feel out process and less of like an empirical, let's hire a study to figure out whether or not it works kind of a thing. It'll be very much a subjective tool.
So two things. One, I've taken or read and taken books called Strength Finders.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, that I found that very, very useful actually. It appeals to people that our company all uses it. But secondly, the question I have is when you actually start calculating the personality types, who judges where they fit? You said you had somebody in the back end that actually sort of says this,
Right.
or I guess my question is if you were to roll this out, would you allow the hiring manager sort of drag and drop questions, or like if they sort of, I could almost imagine being more sort of contained, like, hey, we need a hostess, and therefore this person, let's give them these questions, or do you actually let a little more tweaking based on maybe a consultant that says, let's really kind of nail this person down for it?
Sure. So I'll try to be brief because I know we're out of time. The questions, as it stands now in the prototype, are strictly set, right? They're just to compartmentalize what type of person that person would be. And again, it's just a tool. It doesn't mean that person is that way. But so it's not set to do that yet. But the weakest link of this whole operation is the talent of the person who makes the custom descriptions for the client. And right now, at its level, it's run by a specialist who does branding and hiring for family entertainment centers. So that's what makes that link strong now. But in the future, for scalability, of course, we'll have to open the door to like hiring managers or people that specialize in that field so they can be trained on that role with the manual.